My ex-girlfriend Nicole, 28, and I, Aaron, 31, broke up over a year ago. My parents loved her and never believed what I told them. They tried to force me to meet her, I cut contact with them, but then an accident happened and everything spiraled out of control. Nicole and I were in a relationship for about 2 years. It was full of abuse, jealousy, violence, and infidelity. The relationship was good when we were dating, but when it became serious and we were exclusive, she changed, as if her entire personality was replaced. Belittling comments, violence, and jealousy came first. We had been out shopping, and a woman walked in front of me. She was wearing fairly tight yoga pants. They were quite revealing. My girlfriend stepped in front of me and glared at me. I didn't understand, but she was furious. She dragged me toward the restrooms, and in the mall, the restrooms are a bit away from the actual shopping area where the stores are, and in that corridor, she started hissing at me that I was looking at other women. When I tried to say that I wasn't, she gave me a hard slap. You know, one of those you see in movies. It made a sound. She really put force into it. I'm glad I didn't lose a tooth. No one saw it. At the time, I just thought it was bad luck that no one saw. But afterward, I'm certain she would never have hit me if anyone had been watching. I was completely shocked and had no idea what to do. I just stood there. She glared at me and then went to the car. On the way home, I was really angry. But it was pointless to talk to her because she was boiling. The whole evening was tense. In the morning, I woke up to her sitting on top of me and riding me. When I came to my senses, I threw her off me. I said that I wasn't the slightest bit interested in first being assaulted in public and then having her act like nothing had happened. I could see her starting to get irritated again. She told me to stop acting like a sissy. She tried to climb on top of me again, but I stood up and said that if she hit me one more time, I'd leave. She laughed at me. You know how you raise children. You can't threaten to go home if they don't behave. You have to follow through. Otherwise, the threat is worthless. To quote Marcus in Terminator, don't point a gun at someone unless you intend to pull the trigger. That was exactly the mistake I made. I threatened to leave, but didn't do it until it had gone way too far. This was the first time she assaulted me. I am much stronger than she is, so I could have defended myself. The problem is that if I leave a mark on her, I'll get in trouble if she goes to the police. The police tend not to believe that men can be abused. I felt trapped. After half a year of this, plus a lot of belittling comments, my self-confidence was completely destroyed. She could treat me pretty much however she wanted. I withdrew from my friends. The only friends we saw were hers. I didn't want mine to see how she treated me. And besides, I knew my friends would raise absolute hell if they saw it. She started sleeping around with other people. She didn't even hide it. Sometimes I'd come home and she had invited someone over and they were in the middle of it, in bed or somewhere in the apartment. I'd just turn around and leave. I think the humiliation and the assaults were something she got off on. Every time she subjected me to something, she wanted to be intimate. Sometimes I couldn't refuse her because she had weapons or similar things. Sometimes I could keep away to avoid it. After about 2 years of this, one of my friends found out. I had called him to congratulate him on his birthday. Then she had one of her outbursts, and he could hear her starting to attack me. I had to lock myself in the bathroom, and she used weapons to try to break down the door. My friend called the police, and they came rushing in and saw everything. I had bruises on my face, so it wasn't hard to be believed. She didn't get much of a sentence, though, probation, and she didn't have to serve any time. After this, my parents refused to believe that anything like this happened. Despite the police report, they bought her story completely, that it was actually me who behaved that way toward her. I find that absolutely unbelievable. Because they insist on inviting her to all holidays, I can't go there. The first time they did it, they didn't tell me. It was a surprise. She followed me all evening. I made sure to stay among people. I didn't even go to the bathroom if it meant risking being alone with her, even for a few seconds. She mocked me and called me a sissy and other belittling things. I had a serious argument with my parents afterward. They completely refused to exclude her from gatherings. They said she was like a daughter to them. I was deeply offended and stopped going there. Instead, I visit them when she isn't there. But lately, they've started pressuring me, saying, I have to come to family gatherings because we're a family. I've kept the same stance as before. Don't invite Nicole, and I'll come. But they refuse. They think I need to behave like an adult and let that go. In our latest discussion, they said outright that if I don't intend to behave like part of the family, I'll be excluded from the will, and they don't want anything to do with me. There is no understanding for my situation at all. So here's the question. Am I the asshole for refusing to give in? Should I just say screw it and cut contact? Update. Thank you, Reddit, for all the advice. It was nice to get confirmation that I'm not the asshole. Instead, this is an absurd situation, and my parents should know better. A delightful older woman wrote and said she could adopt me if I needed a new mom. Thank you, but for now I think I'll be fine. Seeing myself as an orphan, smiley face, I decided to cut ties. I've blocked my parents on social media and blocked their phone numbers. It felt really good. One piece of advice I got from all of you was, don't let anyone else tell you what to do. If you're going to cut ties, the decision has to come from within, because you need to be able to justify it to yourself later on, not feel like you did it because people told you to. That was good advice. I spent a few weeks thinking about it, and during those weeks, my parents were ice cold toward me. We briefly ran into each other when a mutual acquaintance had a birthday. He's taken my side and never invites Nicole. He knows how I feel, and he thinks that now that we're no longer together, she's not really his priority anymore. My parents were there too, and it went not well. There wasn't a fight or anything, but they acted as if I didn't exist at all. I tried to talk to them, and they just stared at me. Then they walked away. After that, it felt completely right to cut ties. Some people noticed it, my uncle, for example. We've always had a good relationship, and he thinks what they did was idiotic. He's tried to talk to them and to me about not breaking contact, but apparently we're all just as stubborn. It's like a stone has been lifted from my shoulders. I feel free now. No more nagging, no more talk about Nicole and all the amazing things she's supposedly doing. Thank you for all the advice and support you've given me. Update 2. Hi, Reddit. I didn't think I'd need to update this one more time, but this story took a completely insane turn. I've cut contact with my parents, and everything was calm and peaceful. I felt better than I had in years. I've been diagnosed with PTSD because of my relationship with Nicole and have started therapy. It's going okay, but it's extremely exhausting. Can you imagine having to recount the absolute worst and most traumatic events of your life over and over again for hours, several times a week? I'm convinced this will help me. I still live alone more than a year after my relationship with Nicole. I haven't been on a single date, even though I've gotten hints from several women that they'd say yes if the question came. I pretend not to understand the hints so I don't have to say no. Two of them work at the same workplace. They're both incredibly sharp, and honestly, that's exactly the kind of personality I'm drawn to, but I know that if I try to date now, it's almost doomed to fail. Anyway, I live alone, and I never thought of that as a vulnerability, but things took a fairly dramatic turn. A few weeks ago, my parents showed up at my place. They didn't call, I'd blocked them everywhere. They asked if they could come in and talk. I closed the door behind me and stayed in the stairwell. I didn't want them in my home. Then I can't decide when the conversation is over. I could see their expressions stiffen a bit when I didn't let them in. I didn't understand what they were doing there, but I should have understood. Riddle: what is the most common reason someone who has said they don't want contact with you still reaches out again? Yep, Reddit, you guessed it, money. Nicole has apparently been in a traffic accident. I read about it in the newspaper without realizing it was her. It said that an intoxicated woman had driven off the road and straight into a bus that had stopped to let passengers off. One person died, 4 were injured, and the driver was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. According to my parents, she wasn't intoxicated at all. It was a typo. The problem now is that Nicole's insurance doesn't cover much of the specialized medical care she needs. They wanted me to cough up, believe it or not, $50,000 for her care. I didn't know what to say. I pointed out that they see her as a daughter, so why not pay the money themselves? They claimed they don't have that kind of money and that it should come from me, since I've treated her so badly since the breakup, and that maybe it could bring us closer again. It's unbelievable. It's as if they don't understand why I cut contact and haven't understood anything from all the hours of discussions we've had about this. The thing is, I do have the money I've been saving since I got my first summer job, and I've also bought quite a lot of Nvidia stock. I told them I'd rather burn my money than give it to her. They looked at me as if I were a monster. They couldn't understand how I could say something like that about someone who'd been in a serious accident. I reminded them of what she did to me during the relationship, but they didn't buy that. "You have to stop spreading lies," was all they said. I tried to close the door and end the discussion, but my father put his foot in the way so I couldn't close it. They kept nagging and trying to persuade me. I stopped arguing and just answered no to every demand or question they had. When I'd had enough, I told him to remove his foot or I'd remove it for him. Then he seemed to get it. Maybe I didn't have the most sympathetic expression by that point. After this, my parents have come by a couple more times to nag. If I don't open, they bang on my door and make a huge scene until I feel forced to open. I've applied for a new apartment to get away from them. I don't want to change jobs. I like it and I earn decently, but I can't stay living here. I've applied for apartments quite far from where I live now, so hopefully they won't find me so easily. This is probably one of the strangest situations I've ever been in. I never thought my parents would be this easily manipulated. I've always seen them as fairly sensible people, but apparently you can never fully know anyone, not even your own parents.
If you liked this story, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot, and you won't miss out on any future stories. Take care and live your best life.